Okay, let's get started with learning goal 1, remediation. We're going to start by defining these 6 terms. So the first term is a ray, and a ray is part of a line that has a start point but no endpoint. And we're going to include a little example here. Maybe our ray has a point X and it's traveling in only one direction. We're going to make sure we have another point on this ray and we're going to call it W. So if we were to name this ray, we would start with the endpoint, then the letter it's going toward. The arrow on top is only facing the direction that the actual ray is facing. So that would be called ray XW. A point has a location, but no size. It's one of those undefined terms. So if we were to give an example, we could say this is point B. We use just the dot and a capital letter, so that would be point B. A line is made up of points. So think of points as your basic building block. We put a bunch of them together, really close together, and we make a line made up of points. Again, it's one of those undefined terms. It has no thickness, no width. We're going to name a line using 2 points. So lines go on forever, but within this segment that we've drawn with the arrows on the end, we're going to give it 2 letters. So maybe, I don't know, BC. This would be line BC. And this time when we name it, we put arrows on both sides because a line's going on forever in both directions. All right, a plane, if you took all your points and you spread them all over the table, that would make a plane. So a plane is a flat surface that goes on forever in all directions. A flat surface made up of points that extends indefinitely, so forever, in all directions. To give an example of a plane, we use this sort of slanted rectangle. We'll get into the name of that next semester. And we use a capital cursive letter, so do your best to make a little cursive letter. We'll call this plane X. So I've used a capital X, and that would be plane X. Supplementary, that's referring to 2 angles that add up to 180 degrees. Complementary are 2 angles that add up to 90 degrees. And if you're having trouble keeping those 2 separate, here's a little trick. Supplementary starts with the letters SU. If you draw a line through the S and the O, you get 180. Complementary starts with CO. If you draw a line down the C, you get 90 degrees. So I hope that little trick helps. Okay. Moving on to the level 2 questions, name the intersection of lines. Let's see if I can scoot that. Nope. Okay. Of lines L and M. So here's line L and here's line M, and they meet right here at point B. So we're just going to write a capital B. That communicates to the reader point B. What is another name for line L? All right, here's line L. We can also name lines with 2 letters. So pick any 2 letters on this line. Looks like we have A B, and C, we can pick any two letters. I'll pick A and B. Capital A, capital B, because I'm talking about the points. Those make up a line, the same line that's labeled line L. You could also say line BC, line AC, just pick any two letters. What is the intersection of plane P? So that's the whole gray shaded area here. And line FG. So here's line FG. It's actually cutting through the plane. So think about your flat desk and a pencil going through it. So where do they intersect? Right here at point E. They are sharing point E. Level 3, name another name for line M. All right, so back to the same thing. There's line M. We're going to pick 2 points on that line. So this another name for this would be line DB. Those are the 2 points on that line. Number 11, name a non-coplanar line with line M. So maybe talk about this word non-coplanar, not on the same line. Plane. Not on the same plane. Non-coplanar. So a line that's not on the same plane as line M. So line M is clearly on this big plane P. What line is not on that plane? This line FG. Okay, make sure we use proper notation. So we've got capital letters here. F and G are capitalized. We have a bar over the top with 2 arrows on both sides. That would be your proper notation for a line. We could have chosen a different combination of letters since there are 3 on this line. We could have chosen FE or EG. Any of those would work. All right, the last one, draw and label a figure for the following situation. Plane R, so we've got this, I'm going to draw it over here. Got this sideways rectangle. I'm going to call it plane R. Do your best with your capital cursive R. It's going to contain 2 lines, AB and DE, which intersect at point P. All right, let's get those on the plane. We've got 2 lines that are intersecting. The first line we have to make sure has a point A and a point B on it. The second line has to have a D and an E, and they're intersecting at point P. So this point where they meet is point P. All right. At point J on plane R, so it is not collinear. So not collinear would be not on the same line as AB. Not on line AB. J can be anywhere that's not AB, so maybe I'll stick it right here. J. Okay, if they told you that J was not on plane R, you would put it out here, J. But since it is part of plane R, we're going to make it very obvious. We're going to put it inside that rectangle, or that sideways rectangle, like that. Okay, the rest of the page is independent practice. When you are finished with the independent practice, you may sign up for Excel. Goodbye.